have their quota when it comes to employment, when it comes to education and so on. However, today they were questioning the Almajiri system. This conversation has been on the table for days now, and the question is, should Almajiri system be abolished? I reached out to the former presidential candidate in the 2019 elections, who's been towing the line of saying that the Almajiri system is the culture and the pride of the North and must be retained. I expect him to be here. I expect him to join us on the show because we had a schedule for this morning. As soon as he does, he'll be live on air. I'd like to engage him on the Almajiri system, particularly interested in why he's keen, especially with a lot of videos that we've seen online with children begging, looking miserly, children looking, hungry, pale, some of them their skin peeling off, some of them shackled, tied with chains at the ankles. And we're questioning this today. What really is the Almajiri system of education? I'd like you to be able to understand that on the show this morning. Let's know exactly what we're asking for. Why? And if necessary at all, should it be scrapped? If it's working or if it could work, can we improve on it? Can we reform it? Can it work in the North? Well, that's the question. We'll also be asking the question, what really is the link between Almajiri violence and extremism, if any at all? Let's find the link on the show today. Do we have any policies supporting the Almajiri system? Do we have any laws backing this up? If not, do we need to create laws? Do we need to create regulation? Is there something we can do? Well, that's the show this morning. You're welcome. I am Wemimo Adewuni, and I am live right now on Facebook and YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3. You can go ahead there and watch now. Anywhere you are in the world, just go ahead and join the conversation. And you can also send me your thoughts on WhatsApp. The number is 08095975805, 08095975805. You can join the conversation right there. Now, we have news reports published across national dailies that indicate that the Almajiri system of education is strictly an Islamic educational one, which is predominantly situated in the northern part of the country. Concerned citizens and public affairs analysts have pinpointed the fact that the Almajiri system of education largely thrives in the north because of consistent failure of the educational institutions and policies in the northern part of the country. So, some people have said that the Almajiri could be regarded as symptomatic. It's maybe not the real problem. Maybe we're addressing the wrong things. But we're asking the questions right now because there's a bigger problem of poverty, of ignorance, of inequality stemming, for which we see the symptoms. Okay, so remember, when we talked about the quota system on Monday, we had Ola Barnabas with us on the show, who was answering questions on the quota system in Nigeria. Let me remind you of one important point that he had to make.
I don't support it, but it's a menace. It's a menace we are dealing with in the North. Okay, and we cannot run away from it. Now, this is the point I'm trying to make. The North may be literate, but it's not the Western literate that the North has. For example, the North has Arabic education, which has been here for ages, centuries maybe. So people are literate in that, but they are not Western literate. So the kind of education that the West has, the North does not have. Now, the point for us here in the North is this: if we are going to place the North or the Northerners and the Southerners on the same side, weighing them on the same scale of Western education, the North will fall flat. The North will never be able to meet up with it. The Almajiri system, I don't want to go too deep into that now, but there are so many things that continue to weigh down the North in terms of education, in terms of educational pursuit. I think for me that we should have some sympathy to the North.
Well, if you follow that conversation, so you know where it all went to. We had talked about the quota system, and are we being fair to the North, to these children who are the victims in this situation? It's not their fault that we have a bad system, but we do have a bad system, and what's the way forward? Again, we've invited to join us on the show former presidential aspirant Adamu Garba, who's being towing the line for the continuation of the Almajiri system in northern Nigeria. You know how we roll on the Morning Crossfire. I want to get a feel from you before I tell you the historical background of the Almajiri in Nigeria. Here are the phone numbers to join the show.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Yes, we are listening. This is Nigeria Info. You can call those numbers. I particularly love to hear from the ladies. I have to say this all the time. We have a number dedicated to the female callers, so I'd like you to join us. The first number, 012770993, is for females. Let's get to the phones now. Good morning. Sorry about that. Let's try this one. Good morning.
Hello, Wemimo.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name?
Please, I want to know who said that Almajiris are culture to the north?
Adamu Garba, who we are expecting in the studio this morning.
Okay, his children is the children Almajiris?
He would have to tell us that if he shows up on the show.
If his children are not Almajiris, which means they are the people that are lying the northern people. They are the people that doesn't want development in the north, in the sense. Because for him to say that kind of a thing at this particular time, at this age, he's saying that kind of a thing, which means they don't want to liberate the north. In the sense, that kind of comment is a very, very bad comment by this time. When everybody is striving to go to school, to make sure that things works well in everywhere, and they're saying this kind of a thing, is highly bad words for people to be hearing.
Thank you very much. Thank you for calling.
I'm a very good listener of Nigeria Info, but I don't want to chip in this kind of a thing.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. We appreciate it. Good morning. Hello. Okay, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
Yes, my name is Olax. I'm calling from on my way to the office now. Now, the comments made about the banning of Almajiri in Kano, for me, is not a step taken in the right direction. To start with, every problem is just like a plant. They have roots. And if you want to solve the problem, the best you can do is to go to the root cause of that problem. Do a root cause analysis. Address it from the root, and you can go to bed to tell yourself that the problem has been solved. The Almajiri problem is not caused by those children.
Right.
It is caused by the marriage system in that area of the country. A situation where you say a girl child of the age of 9 or 10 or 11 should be conscripted, I use the word conscripted now, into marriage. No school, nothing, and even the person marrying the girl, he didn't even go to school. Now, what kind of children do you expect from that kind of marriage?
Well, big question you've put on the table for me there. Good morning. Oh, sorry about that. You probably haven't been on the line for a while. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, morning.
My name is Mudashiru.
Welcome, Mudashiru.
I'm calling from Apapa, Adewuni.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm an ardent listener to this 99.3 every time I listen to your programs.
I'm glad you always listen.
Yeah, I'm happy I'm through today.
You're what?
The Almajiris, I said I'm happy I got through.
Oh, I'm happy you got through too. I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah. The Almajiri system of the thing that the governor is saying they want to cancel or whatever now. It's been a thing that it was the government of those days that really supported it. Because I had it in history that during the time of the Awolowo's, when they were making campaigns, there was certain campaign that Awolowo went for. When he got to their means, he want to start campaigning, he's going to do free education, he's going to do this. One of them just cut him short, said, no, don't come and use that campaign here. It is you that knows what your people want. and we know what our people want. Don't come and start campaigning with free education of the thing in their place. So they've been very happy for their people. Maybe they don't want to be educated. They don't want them to be educated so that they will not know much. So it is from the root. It is not now that people will start saying one governor will come up. It's a propaganda.
That's quite a theory. Thank you for sharing it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show. What's your name?
My name is Dennis.
Welcome.
You see, when you mentioned a topic that is going to be aired today, I tried to do an extensive research on the internet. I came to the conclusion that it's a way of life in the North. Because this thing is traced back to 11th century. You understand? Have you watched Roots before? The Roots?
No.
That popular movie.
No.
That popular movie. Have you watched it before?
No.
Now, try to do so. Because in one of the parts, Toby, the African slave that was brought to America, was denied education because the white man was saying, if you give him education, he become enlightened. You've opened his mindset. So these people, their life in the North, they know what to do. They knew quite well that when you broaden the knowledge of these people, they will ask for their rights. So it is a way of life in the North. It's a way of life.
So is there a way to then end it or reform it or restructure it?
See, Adewuni, I grew up in Ondo State. In the early 60s, we were seeing these people coming to beg. So they migrate from one place to the other. This thing is a way of life. The beggars we see is a tradition in the North.
All right. Thank you very much. He insists it's a tradition, it's a way of life. Is it really? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to the show. What's your name?
My name is Umar, calling from Maja.
Umar, good to have you here.
Yeah. Those one, when who are not from North, how are they going to know what exactly Almajiri is all about?
Well, knowledge is not restricted to a place, but if we have people from the North, we'd like to hear from them too.
Well, but the way they are talking, say no. Almajiri is a different something.
Tell me about it. Are you from the North?
Okay, like now, I come from North. Almajiri is like, let's say, religious study, like Islamic study, where they go there. Maybe some of them, their parents would take them somewhere like 5 to 6 kilometers away from their village. Then they would be there reading Quran. So later in the evening, they would take their plates, go to beg like food, but not money. It's come to begging of money or something like that. I see many people in Lagos here begging money on the street, who are not a Almajiri, which are not a Hausa people. There's different type of style of begging here in Lagos. So people beg money anywhere because of poverty, or people beg so many things because of the country situation, but not the Almajiri problem. Because what I observe about Almajiri situation there in the North, it was maybe to beg food. That's the only thing. And
Oh no way. You have to call. Oh no, you please have to call me back, okay? I was waiting for you to land so I could engage with you. You are the first caller on this show who is from the North, and I really just wanted to talk to you. Can you please call back if you can? Abolished is at Ajao Estate. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Wemimo.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, see, the Almajiri issue that we are talking about has not started today. It has started since. You remember, before Obasanjo came to power, they used to bear their plate number, they are born to rule. That is why they don't value education then. It is started from all those who are ruling the country right from then. They believe they are born to rule. They can come on the street, come everywhere to be begging for money. Nobody's to call for them. They believe that their leaders, when they have money at hand, they are only the one that can fit the rest of the people of their life. So you can see them, they go that is why you saw them go everywhere in the world, everywhere in the state, in the country. So you saw them sitting down. Those one who there's nothing happened to them, they don't have any injury in their hand or in their eye. You saw them sitting down somewhere begging for money. Because of the mentality that occurred to them right from daytime where they're supposed to collect before now. Now they want us to correct their mistake where they've already made. So now, for them to give their children the education, they refuse to give their children the education. When Jonathan came to power, he started to invest the Almajiri school to them. They say they don't want. A lot of school, Almajiri school, Jonathan have tried to build for them in the north. None of them, they don't like education. That is why you saw them.
But arguably, Islamic education is also education.
No, true. Islamic education is also education, but it's different entirely. It's not a general education. Islamic education is not general education, it's by religion education. But the general education that we are talking about, that we enlighten them to many things, to open their eyes on what is good and what is right and what is not good. You know that most of them don't know what the right, what is good. They believe that what they are doing is good things to them. That is why you saw them and burn their children. They still carry their children come to the street and be begging for money.
I'm sorry, Abolari, I have to keep it here. Let's keep it short, okay? Dad is here from Mamu Wadofin. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, Wemimo.
Good morning.
I'm so happy I got through today. Let me start with the issue of calling Almajiri educational system Islamic. Now, how do you define something as being Islamic? You define something as being Islamic because it has a ground norm, which is based on the Quran and the practice of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, we can't find, I'm a Muslim and I'm an Imam. I'm an Imam and I've not found any basis for you giving birth to children and failing to take responsibility over your children and sending them to some kind of hero that you have kind of given some kind of names, that whatever, and you throw your children away, you leave them to these people to train them for you, whereas God has given you these children as your responsibility. It is irresponsible for any parents, and I challenge anybody from the north who will tell me that Almajiri system is is an Islamic thing. I am, by God's grace, I'm well traveled. I've traveled to countries of Muslims, countries where we are, for example, the UK. We have Islamic communities in UK. You don't find this aberration called Islamic in the UK, for example.
If I could ask you some questions, though, so
I may need to point out something before your question comes.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
And that is that I've been to some courses because of my profession in the northern part. There was a time I went on a particular course in a particular institution there. I don't want to mention the name. I gathered these children. And myself and my colleagues who are, after coming back from the classroom, we gathered them. I said, okay, I don't understand Hausa language. And I said, guys, this thing is not good. Okay, let's bring you guys together and train you. I personally employed a teacher. I employed someone on vocation to train on vocational training. Did you know one thing? After about a week of spending money, resources on these children, when they discovered that the intention is to take them off the street and begging for food and whatever, that the intention was to train them, one of them told my colleague who understands Hausa, and he said, I said, tell him that if his intention is to take us off the street, we're not going to buy into this idea. Now tell me, where is Islam in this?
What's the age category of people you targeted with this program?
But from 15 to 8 years.
From 8 to 15?
Yes, that's the age category of these children.
So why exactly would they rather be on the streets than get something that makes them employed? What did you gather?
No, what I gathered was that one of the callers just mentioned the root cause. And I agree with him totally that the northern part of this country should check themselves and stop giving Islam and the Muslims a bad name. Because there is nothing and absolutely nothing Islamic about Almajiri system.
So you're saying that these children felt like it was a right thing for them to do, to be on the street begging to supplement the Islamic education?
A point of correction now. When you call it Islamic education, we have the foundation of Islamic education. When you have people who will hide under the notion of teaching them Quran, whereas they don't learn anything. For example, I told you earlier, I'm an Imam. And I opened the Quran, portion of the Quran to these children, especially those of them who are 15 or thereabout. I said, read the Quran. They can't read, man.
You're saying that even under the Almajiri system, they're not even learning the Islamic education, which is why they're there.
They're just exploiting these children. They work for them. They work in the farm. They go out to beg. Man, it's like an animal life.
Thank you, Dad. I'm so glad you were able to join. Olaleko has been on the line from Ikorodu. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Two things. Number one, the man that was saying Almajiri is a northern culture. I think he's right. It's not wrong. But my question to him is that when and if a culture is now threatening to annihilate both the carrier and others around him, should that culture be continued? I do know, for instance, that in some parts of this country, killing twins was a culture.
Mm-hmm.
But today, is it a culture that we say they should continue, including cleaning his own twins? I think it's not being sincere in that prescription. Then the second one, the action taken by the governor, I can't see sincerity of purpose in that, in the sense that they all know the root cause of this problem, which is lack of education. When a person, what they don't do, or they know that they don't know the gravity, is that when somebody is not educated, they become a threat to that society, because they don't become objects of reason. They become totally set of emotion. Somebody just needs to come and tell them because it was able to emotion that is the reason in the first place. So, bottom line is that they are not addressing the root of the problem. Because one way or the other, they are benefiting from it.
I'm sorry, I would love to hear from you some more, but your line is breaking. Let me go to Twitter where Murtaza Mekisu says, Almajiri is coined from the Arabic word hijra, which means a flight from one place to another. This is why it is called a nomadic education system. It was created to suit the lifestyle of our folks in the northern part of Nigeria. Joy Forever here says on Twitter, is it not the same Arabic education they have in Saudi Arabia, the UAE? Why are they not practicing Almajiri system? Says Adamu Garba is part of people who want to put the North in darkness. Incidentally, most of the elites send their children to UK to study. I'm still hoping that he joins us on the show because we had an agreement for him to be here this morning. We concluded that arrangement over the weekend and expect him to join us on the show. Hopefully, he will. Adekule is in transit. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Wemimo.
Morning to you.
Yeah. I've been listening to the conversation that is going on there and what people have been saying. Most of the people that spoke on this, they are not far from the truth. But what I just have to say is that the level of hypocrisy in the North is too much. You see, anytime anybody from other region or from one religion raise a line over the rate at which people give back in the North, they will attach it to religion. Even if the northern governors want to do anything now, they can't help the matter because the population of people in question called Almajiri is too much. When somebody is giving birth to, I think you saw some wood back, a senator of Nigeria standing up with that chain that he has a 4 wives with 24 children. Now you can imagine where a poor man that has the same mentality like him has such a children. How do you expect the government to help? Okay, so what is happening actually in the North? The Northerners cause it by themselves. But when people from the other regions talk, they will see that, you want to control over religion, you want to bring religion into it. This Islam they are talking about, are they the only one practicing it? Is it not the same Islam other countries practice in Saudi Arabia and the rest? So to me, it's level of hypocrisy that is affecting them, and the implication of this now is what we are having today, Boko Haram everywhere. And another thing is that the nature of the porosity in the borders are not, because this issue of Almajiri, now if you look at it, if we're to say, it's not only the people from Nigerians, from the northern part of this country are on the road. People from the neighboring country, they are all there. Okay, so until the northerners come to realize that they have to abandon this issue of holding the religion with all forces as if maybe the Nigeria is a paradise where all these religions are started from.
Right. All right. Adekule, thank you very much for calling. Let me speak with Yemi before I go on a break. And after that break, we'll be back to talk about the history. So we'll understand where the Almajiri system actually began from. But let me speak first with Yemi, who's at Surulere. Yemi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for holding the line.
Yeah. Well, I just want to add to the discussion.
Please go ahead.
Yes, Almajiri. I think in our country, Nigeria, we have a way of over-pampering the North. You can imagine, even in time of slavery, the slaves have been subjected to hunger and some other things in order to subdue them. Now, the same thing, is it not slavery that is going on over there? Those children are being subjected to the fact that if they go to school, they will have a way of liberating themselves.
So should we encourage that? That means over pampering the North. We need to call a spade a spade.
So how exactly do we call this spade a spade? What do you propose that we do now?
Now, we need to call a spade a spade. They are still continuing on slavery system. That is what we need to let the whole world know. That is slavery. And we need to discourage that.
Okay. Thank you, Yemi. Let me head out for a very quick break, Nigeria. I see the phone lines are still buzzing. I see your messages also on WhatsApp. I'll read them right now, okay? I'll read them just after the break. I still expect to join me in the studio. I'm hoping that he would show up on the show. Mr. Adamu Garba, who was a presidential aspirant, we had an agreement for him to be here this morning to share with us his ideology about Almajiri system being the pride and the culture of the North. And if it's a culture, do we ask that the culture be discarded? Can we reform it? Can we make it better? Can we tweak it a bit? Or do we totally trash it and put it in the bin? All of that conversation continues after this very short break. This is a Morning Crossfire. This is Nigeria Info. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
Now we're back on the Morning Crossfire.
So we spent the first half, 30 minutes of the show getting your thoughts on the Almajiri system, and it's been nice listening to your thoughts and opinions. But let's now get into some facts, which we like to do on the Morning Crossfire. Let's talk about the history of the Almajiri system in Nigeria, and you tell me if you think it is a fault of the North, and if you think blaming them right now is a solution to the situation we found ourselves in. Do you really think that the fact that they are Northerners mean that they're maybe less than you are? There is this superiority complex that we have. I mean, let's look at what the problems really are. I'll be coming back to the phone lines. The lines are buzzing, and it's just fair. Okay, I think I should take a breather and read some messages from WhatsApp. because I see that we got lots of comments there before I go into the history of the Almajiri system. And Rotimi Sankore would also be joining on the show shortly. But we have, I need you to include your name, please. I need you to include your name. Okay, so let me just take this comment because it's a good one. It says on Almajiri issue, it has never been an issue at all. Let their leaders map up child control. Let the leaders put educational system in place. If billions can be budgeted for some emirs and children are on the street, then it shouldn't be a national issue. What should it be then? Aren't there Nigerians also? Okay, Ajayi Olabode Olaleko says, good morning, Nigeria Info. I would like to quote an excerpt from my master's project on the Almajiri system in Nigeria. And here is the quote. It says, by virtue of his reliance on others to get by daily, the Almajiri, with nowhere to call a home or livelihood except an entrenched knowledge of the Quran, is nothing but a ready, available and working tool for chaos and destruction in times of political, ethnic and religious provocations. His loyalty goes to the one who can feed him. As such, he is exploited by just anybody. That's the clergy and the politician. Lastly, I'd like to recommend the novel that birthed the project. That is called Born on a Tuesday, written by John L. Nathan. So it tells the story of the Almajiri and the rise of terrorism in Nigeria. Thank you for that. This is Fred on WhatsApp saying the Nigerian system have regional similarities. The children from the East send their poor children to learn a trade. The Western also send them to be mechanics and vulcanizers and other artisan skills. But the Northern practice kills a feature of those children. There is no known project similar to the other region which they embark on. Okay, let me summarize that because of time and see. Oh, someone here says the man has been quite resourceful. The man who called, Imam who called, and we should have him some more. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can. Ibrahim from Ikoton says, I think calling Almajiri an Islamic education is totally false. We have Islamic centers here in the south, and you'll be surprised how knowledgeable the students are. Okay, the problem with the northern Muslim is that they are mentally lazy. Even the youth can find it difficult to liberate themselves from such slavery. You call it slavery, but okay, continue here to say they love you so much and it's become ingrained in them and metamorphosed into being part of their culture, just like Adamu Garba said. Joseph from Gwarimpa says, Almajiri system, Wemimo, I'm waiting to hear that your guest in the studio. I'm also waiting for him to join us. Says that is a hypocrisy we're talking about. If he comes, ask him if his children are Almajiri. You can be sure that I will ask him if he joins us. A final message from WhatsApp for now. Kayode Osman says, good morning, Wemimo. I want to contribute. It's as if we're mixing two things together. It says one thing is the Almajiri, another thing is begging. Says there are two different things entirely. Begging is begging and is different from Almajiri. Says what has become culture of Hausa is begging, which is quite different from learning of Quran, as we are saying. So it's saying these are two different things, but somehow they found a way to merge. So let's talk about oh goodness. Azubuike has been on the line for a while, so I'll just hear from him, but that's the only call I'll take for now while I run you through the history. Good morning, Azubuike. Hello. Good morning. Well, unfortunately, I can't hear you. I hope you can try call us again. Now, let's start off with the history of the Almajiri in Nigeria. If you've been reading up, and some of you have told me that you've read up quite a number, what's the historical background? Here we go. Now, historical-based research shows that the term Almajiri is derived from the Arabic word Al-Muhajirun, which means an emigrant. It refers to a person who migrates from his home to a popular teacher in the quest for Islamic knowledge. Based on this school of thought, however, some people believe that its origin could be traced from the migration of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina, and others have also highlighted this link. Now, if we try to contextualize these issues within Nigeria, the Almajiri system in northern Nigeria started around the 11th century in Kanem, Borno, and was later replicated in the Sokoto Caliphate after the triumph of the jihad-led Sheikh Uthman Danfodio. Now, both empires not only promoted the scheme, but also supported it with public finances. Aside the authorities' recognition and promotion, the scheme also enjoyed the support of many other stakeholders. The communities, the parents, the pupils were all open to these system. In 1904, when the British invaded and colonized northern Nigeria, they manned the treasury and abolished state funding of Almajiri school system, which they saw as mere religious schools. So, could this be where the problem started from? If in 1904, by that time we had funding for these schools, could pulling out the funding be the reason why they had to resort to begging? There have been arguments to say if we had kept the funding up and maybe reformed the kind of education they have, maybe they would not have resorted to begging on the streets. Maybe those children would not have been so, poorly treated. Now, if you remember also that with the loss of the support from the government, the emirs and the increasing number of students had to cater for themselves, and their teachers had to, just make them fend for themselves. So it became quite overwhelming for some of those malams to take care of those children, and so they were left, within quote, with no choice than to send those pupils to beg for alms. One of our callers insists that they don't beg for money, they only beg for food after they've had a full day of learning in the classroom. Rotimi Sankore joins me on the show. Rotimi, good morning again. Yeah. So we've had conversations with the caller for the past 30 minutes thereabouts, and there've been different school of thought. An imam has called to say he's been in the north and he's tried gathering some of these children between the ages of 8 and 15 to say, okay, let me train you in some trade while you also learn. He insists that they don't even learn Islamic education. Some have argued that the Almajiri system is not even Islamic, it's not based in Islam. But with the history we've looked at, there's an history to the Almajiri system. I mean, looking at the colonial times, if we throw it right back, back to 1904, we trace those history where the funding was pulled. We had funding for the Almajiri system then, but was pulled out. And then the Malams had to send these children on the road on the street to beg to fend for themselves. But there's a big problem here of parents believing that their children need to be taught and mentored by someone else who is far away from home. And there might have been success stories, frankly. Maybe a few.
See, there are always sociological explanations for all these things. First, we need to deal with the question of religion. For those who think it is religious or that it is a religious obligation, we only need to refer them to, say, Dubai, for instance. So you can step out of Nigeria, go to a Muslim country, and see whether you have poverty on the scale where children in tens of thousands are on the street begging for food. If you don't see it in other Muslim countries, then religion cannot be the explanation. Because
can't be one of the options on the table.
Yes,
there must be something else.
Because people often misrepresent sociology as culture or religion. If the level of poverty did not exist, the children will not be on the street begging. Mm-hmm. If poor people were not in a situation where the birth rate per woman is between the fertility rate per woman is between 7 and 12 children, they won't be on the street begging. If a peasant farmer or a poor guy does not feel that he can marry 3, 4, or 5 wives and father 27 or 40 children, this will not be the case. If first child marriage is not permitted, in which case all the girls have at least a minimum of 12 years of education, we will not be in this kind of situation. If there is adequate investment in primary and secondary education for girls and boys, and the teachers exist, we will not be in this situation. So there are a lot of systemic things that we need to pay attention to, because the political elites will not own the problem that they created. they allow all this false narrative
to thrive. One of the comments we've got is to say that this shouldn't even be a national issue. Let them sort it. And I'm asking, is it not a national issue? Let's look at some statistics. The Guardian newspaper did a report, and it shows that at least 7 million children in northern Nigeria are in the Almajiri system. This is a national issue.
Well, it's a national issue to the extent that when they grow up, they can move to any part of the country. And with a lot of implication. They can be recruited into extremism, banditry, or just general misbehavior. Anything that happens within any state is a national issue, even if the cause of it is corruption, poor governance at local government level or at state level. It becomes a national issue because it has national consequence. When banditry and extremism is being fought, it's from the national budget. It's from the defense budget. The money that goes into defense could have gone into a whole lot of other things. When people say, there is no money for free education, when the battle commences, there will be money for Tucano jets, there will be money for Apache helicopter, there will be money for service chiefs like the former chief of air staff to buy helicopter without rotor blade and all kinds of absurdities.
Helicopter without rotor blade.
So the money is going to appear from somewhere.
Let's talk about Saudi Arabia. I took yesterday to study the educational system in Saudi Arabia. Like you've mentioned, let's compare. So if we're saying many of our callers agree this is not Islamic, but it has become a culture in northern Nigeria. In Saudi Arabia, there is free and compulsory education for students. By 6 years old, kindergarten is not compulsory, but by 6 years old, a child must be in school. And their system is just like ours. You have 6 years of primary education, and then you have three up there. 3 for the secondary, junior secondary, like what we have here. So if education is compulsory in Saudi Arabia, and in Nigeria, like the Imam who called said, he tried, telling these people, this is not Islamic. You need to get educated. Our guest on Monday, Ola Barnabas, who's from Kano, was saying that maybe we can allow the North grow at their own pace and say, if it's a culture, this is what they understand. If this is what they want to do, is there a way we can teach them, at their own pace and let them just go?
We first need to address something. There is no collective consciousness called the North. North, South, West, all these things are just geographical entity or entities. The people living in the North did not call a rally or congress where everybody decided that, we are not going to invest in education.
We don't want to go to school.
We don't want to go to school. We love poverty. We love the corrupt political elite. There was no collective assembly where these things were agreed. All that has happened is that the political elites have found it extremely convenient not to invest in certain key development indicators, and then so they lie to ordinary people that you are free to behave as you like. That's all that has happened. And then when
which
the
then gives them the freedom not to answer to anybody. No one questions them.
Yes, it gives them the freedom not to be accountable because they say that is the way God wants it, and people accept because at a certain educational level you don't necessarily know better. Sometimes people always talk of Islamic education. What exactly does that mean? Formal education is formal education. A lot of what is described as Western education today has its foundation in Islamic scholarship. Algebra, which is the foundation of mathematics, of advanced mathematics, was developed in Islamic universities. If people don't know history, they should go and read. Algebra, which is the foundation of modern advanced mathematics, was first developed in Islamic universities. So when people say that Islamic education, Christian education, Western, no. Formal education is formal education. Now, we actually need to break this thing down. You can see a small split emerging in what is described as the North, where more educated people like Emir Sanusi, who is a feudalist, by the way.
Interestingly.
You know, he's a feudalist. He is part of that feudal system, but he is more far-seeing than the rest of them. And he's applying his knowledge of economics, of development, of law, to point out that there are certain things which in other countries that are also Muslim, they are not doing. You know, if you go to, say, like Turkey, which is an Islamic country, go to Tunisia, you know, I was pointing out to one of our listeners that was engaging me on social media.
I saw it.
Yeah, so some time ago, that in 1926, Turkey legislated against polygamy. In 1926.
And that's an Islamic country.
That's an Islamic country. The crescent is on the flag. In 1926, they legislated against polygamy. So, I mean, the idea that you can't separate things is not wrong. Tunisia in Africa did the same in the 1950s. Saudi Arabia, more recently, legislated against forced child marriage. There was a time that there were Saudi clerics saying that women driving is bad for their reproductive system.
And actually, it's actually bad for men.
Yes, you know, senior, of course, if you are sitting on your balls in traffic
for hours,
for a long time,
it's actually dangerous.
And it is heating enough.
Yeah.
You know, it is more dangerous to men. But, you know, they sold the lie that driving is dangerous to reproductive system of women until science and basic sociology started to push back, because what then happened in Saudi was that effectively, because there is no public transport system in which women can go out and sit with men, it meant that all the women involved in business, economy, and everything were restricted, because if your husband, your brother, or your father refuses to take you out, then you are stuck at home.
Let me take some comment. The phone lines have been buzzing.
But now they found that women need education, have to work, and then they have to relax. In fact, when the Saudi government relaxed the restriction,
which was very recently,
I'm not even talking about the driving now, on women campaigning in local election for office, and there was a clause there that said that, but they can't campaign directly to men. People said,
should they campaign?
So who are they going to campaign to?
Is it a public office?
Interestingly, some of the women still won despite the restriction, which shows that there are men there whose brains are functioning and realize that these women will be more efficient administrators than the other corrupt men.
All right, we have some people on the line already. If you don't have our numbers, I can see it's with the phone lines buzzing. I'll give you the numbers again to join the conversation right now.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Prince Y.S. is Atamu Wadofi. Welcome to the show.
How are you, Wemimo?
Very well. Very well, thank you. Good morning.
Yeah. My dear friend, how are you, sir?
Good morning.
Thank you. God bless you. Now, I want to say kudos to the governor of Kano State for saying what he said yesterday. And I want to disagree with you, Mr. Rotimi, where you say they can't arrest the minor. They can arrest the minor, but immediately you will arrest those children, their mother will come out. They after the father, the mother. But if you don't get those on the street arrested, after their family comes out. So let them arrest anybody on the street during the school hour. I'm telling you, if the Kano State government, what they started now, other northern governors will emulate him. I'm telling you, between now and 7 years or 8 years, everything get back to normal. If they school under the tree right now, I'm telling you, things will get better very soon. Are you forgetting the time of Papa Jakande when he canceled 3 shifts in Lagos State?
Well, let me get you right, Prince Wires. Are you saying that, because we're coming to this conversation very soon, the Kano State government, in case you're wondering what Prince Wires is referring to, has just banned street begging? Are you saying that arresting these children in the Almajiri system on the road when they're begging would resolve this issue?
Any one of them that under the school age to be sent to school. Anyone that is out of school age, they should come there somewhere, free them. They can use them to go.
So the question is, do we have those schools available so that when you pick them off the street, you are ferrying them straight to the street?
Which is precisely the point.
Prince White, let me allow him finish up so I can end the call.
Right now, they should build more school, more classroom. And if classroom is not enough, they can say teach under the tree right now. Because when you begin something, it looks so rough. At the end of the day,
and you know that to even start under the tree means that you have to recruit more teachers to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let this man start looking for teachers around all Nigeria. Employ more teachers. I'm telling you, this program is started now. It will get better. I want to draw you back a little bit, Wemimo.
Very quickly,
when we have Governor Ogwemija of Old Bende, when he focused attention on sports, when this thing now is a very good, fruitful. Anytime we do National Sport Conference, it is that Bende that always comes first. So when you start something, it may look very rough. At the end of the day, it gets better.
All right, thank you, Prince Wise. Let me speak with Smith from Ikeja. Smith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, we are talking about the Almajiri system.
That's right.
Yeah, those guys are the most important set of people in the north. Because each politicians have a set of Almajiris they take care of. If you go to their house every day, they kill cow, they cook. Those guys, they go there, they beg for food. And they are the one who decide who rules in this country. Because during election, you see those underage, everybody that queue on the line to vote, they are the Almajiri. So the political elites in the north cannot do without them, and they are okay with the situation on ground. So no matter what we do, they are kind of political mercenaries for them. They are the one who determines who rules in this country.
Okay, I can't precisely follow that line of thought till the end, but let me speak with Abiola. I think it started right, but
he's describing the Almajiri children as mercenaries.
Yeah, let's speak with Abiola. I'm coming to you, Rotimi. Good morning.
Good morning, Wemimo.
Good morning to you. Rotimi, very well, thank you.
So I grew up in the north.
Awesome.
And I had Almajiris as friends. And I can say that I spent more than 30 years of my life in the north. And the early caller, the imam that called said, it is an ideology that is rooted in ignorance, if I would say that. And it's been covered up with all these religious leaders saying this is what it should be. Okay, for example, I grew up in Zaria, and there's a place called Gelesu. Gelesu is a hub of Almajiri. But then, because I understand Hausa, and I also go to Hausa churches while I was in the north, I understand that Almajiri means discipleship. How do you disciple a man without giving him the right kind of knowledge? So I think that this issue is more than what all of this propaganda that we have people talking about. One, do we have enough schools in the north? Do we have enough teachers? And even in the schools, do we have teachers that are even committed to help these children to liberate their mind? You talk about children who go to, who have malams. Each of these malams have politicians that they are affiliated to. And so the allegiance of these pupils, these Almajiris, is tied to what the malam says. And now, who dictates to this malam? Who is
if I could ask you a quick question, Abiola, before you go. So for these malams that the parents send their children to school to, why are they such heroes? What do the parents see in these malams that make them want their kids to learn from them? Are they role models?
Basically, they are like role models. You know, the way we have different sects. we have different sects, we have different followership. So somebody can just decide to say that I want my son to learn from this eminent scholar, maybe Umar Tahir Bauchi, or even the Zezegi guys, and they look for one of their prodigies and send their children to go learn from them. And the whole responsibility of how this child turns up is left to the child and the malam.
So why don't the malams charge for these trainings?
It's seen as a religious service. So
but the children have to eat and they have to wear clothing. So why don't they charge for boarding?
They don't.
They don't. Abiola, thank you. I know Rotimi is itching to jump on this, but I need to head out for a break. Don't worry, I'll be back to take your calls. We're due for a break now and a very short news update coming up on the hour. After that, we're back to asking more questions. We need to question things and find out, do we need to reform? Do we need to totally scrap it? What really is the Almajiri system? I'm glad that many people who grew up in the North are also calling on the show. Unfortunately, we don't have Mr. Adamu Garba here. I haven't heard from him. I've sent him messages. But we agreed for him to be on the show this morning. He's been promoting the idea of the Almajiri system being the pride and the culture of the North. We're having more conversations after the break. I am Wemimo Adewuni. Stay here.
More information around Nigeria.
From your number one talk news and sports station. This is the Morning Crossfire with Wemimo and Sheriff.
We are back as the Morning Crossfire on 99.3 Nigeria Info, and today we're asking questions about the Almajiri system in northern Nigeria. I did a search and I just did a random search. The Almajiri system. How many countries have the Almajiri system? None other than Nigeria. Is a Nigerian phenomenon, and it's been around for so long that it's become almost normal. Can we challenge it? Can we ask questions about it? Someone shared a comment on Twitter. Southeast Mafia shared a photo. It says 2015. This is a photo of him serving in Yobe, Damaturu State with Almajiri children. I and my colleagues met close to the Federal Secretariat, Gusau Road, Damaturu, begging. It says, so tell me, how can insurgency stop when it's very easy to recruit them? It shares a photo of some of the boys here with him. And this reminds me of when I was serving. I remember I met a fantastic young boy who had inclinations towards engineering. He would wire things together. He would create light for us. It was an Almajiri, but unfortunately he couldn't push that further to see where it could go. Rotimi Sankore joins me. We reached out and invited, and he agreed to come. A former presidential aspirant, Mr. Adamu Garba, to be on the show live in Lagos this morning. Unfortunately, he's not here. I hope he's safe and sound, because I'll be checking up. I've sent him messages and no responses. And he's been pushing actively online, especially on Twitter, for the continuation of the Almajiri system, claiming it is the culture and the pride of the North. I'm Wemimo Adewuni. Welcome back. Rotimi Sankore is here. Let's talk about some of those comments before the break. So I'm going to start with one. Prince Wires said that he supports the call by Abdullahi Ganduje for the arrest of beggars, is banning begging in the state. Of course, this will also roll out to the Almajiri system and the adults. So I'm saying, is there a possibility that Prince Wise might be right? Could this work? Could it work? Could it be possible that, you arrest the beggars, or you pick up these children, you return them to their parents? Could this, discourage the idea?
Because we need to look at the whole spectrum of not just sociology, but also the justice system. So the basic facts are this: people are on the streets begging because of poverty, and because they don't have the skills either to start their own businesses or to be employed. That's why people are on the kids begging. The children especially are victims of political gangsterism. If the political elites are allowed to get away with not investing in education and training teachers, then they have more money to loot. So it's convenient for them to claim that it is culture, because then they don't have to provide for the education. If people accept that it is culture, it's like being in government without any accountability whatsoever. You can just misbehave and then claim that poverty is culture. Prince Wise is not correct, because if you arrest minors, what are you going to do with them? Arrest is... people need to understand what arrest means.
Or maybe it's a wrong choice of word?
Of course it's a wrong choice of words. You cannot deploy law enforcement to go and arrest children for poverty. What are you going to charge them with?
Because the children did not throw themselves on the street.
In the first instance, what is the offense?
But is there a possibility that if we have these imams, like I asked one of our callers before the break, to say, okay, you want to send your child to me to mentor or to train, can they ask for boarding fees? If the child is going to be living with me, don't parents need to pay boarding fees?
The thing is this: if it is not a formal education
or a registered school,
yes, then the malams have no business with the kids, because anybody who has read Oliver Twist understands this very clearly.
Right.
Yes. All that happens is that, these guys disguise themselves as malams to get some social authority, gather a lot of kids under them, and then deploy the kids for begging for profit, and then rent them out during political time for
rent
profit.
out children.
Yes. So it's political gangsterism. The kids are victims. You know, using words like arrest, you know, it's populist. People, it resonates with people who don't see the whole spectrum of the problem. Arrest them, yes.
Another option I'm looking at.
And then do what? You charge them with poverty.
Can you even charge a minor? Can you jail a minor?
Then what? The emphasis should be on Ganduje. First of all, making, and don't forget, this is a guy who the allegations of corruption against him are massive.
Yeah, wait.
I mean, his nickname Gandola did not come from the sky. So these are people
it wasn't a fancy
nickname. Both him and his predecessors. First of all, if you recover the fantabulous amounts from them that has disappeared over the last 30 years.
That could be the lot of schools.
Is it only school?
Another option I'm looking at.
Training teachers.
I'm looking at the solutions because we need to get back to the phone. Let's look at another option. Let me ask you another option. So I've asked, do we ask the malams or the imams to charge boarding fees? We've agreed that if these imams or these schools are not registered,
school, they have no business.
If they're not registered, you know, they have no business.
If they are not qualified, to impart education,
which is why there should be a registration.
Business in the system.
Another alternative is to say that someone has mentioned when we started this show that there be a policy as to how many children people can have. You think that could work?
Well, in terms of general guidance, yes. But as I was saying in the introduction initially, the antidote to too many children in the first instance is one, at least a minimum of 12 years compulsory education for all children, especially girl children. Because by the time you are through with that, it means that first child married and child bearing from the age of 13 or 14, 15, 16 is out of the equation. It means that you are finishing secondary education by the time you are in your late teens.
And you are more likely to go
you are more likely
for further education.
You are more likely to be able to resist being turned into a child-bearing, machine.
But that's a long term plan.
But
in the
it
short
has
term,
to start now.
Yeah, I'm saying that in the short term, do you think the governors in these states can say now we have a state policy that says don't have more than 3? I mean, yesterday, however, the wife of the Kaduna State governor shared a tweet where she says, times are changing. I would advise young people not to have even more than 2 children that you can cater for. So, can we make this into a law?
So the thing is this.
Short-term fix.
Laws, always have to be backed by investment and education. I mean, if you see in China, they did one child, the one child policy, and it was extremely draconian in the way the thing was implemented. To have those kind of things work, you first have to ensure that you invest in family planning education. Then you invest in the services. Then you invest in the commodities. These are 3 different things.
Right.
All going in the same
So
direction.
you don't just wake up and say, there's a law. Stop having
no, you can't just wake up because
they don't know how to stop having children.
Yeah, because if a woman that has no rights or her right to bodily integrity is not upheld by the law, and she is violated, especially if she's a young girl, by her so-called husband, and she becomes pregnant, what's going to happen? You are going to jail the woman for having 3 or 4 children.
And then what does that
when
solve?
She's not responsible, and she can't uphold her own right to bodily integrity.
She can't put her foot down.
Yeah, because the law does not support her. So there are many things you need. You can't just stand up and just make laws. So family planning, investment, education, services, commodities in the first instance. Then in the long term, you invest in education for a girl child, 12 years minimum. Then we start looking at also things like polygamy, because when you say total fertility rate per woman, and it is highest in Northwest and Northeast, and it is 6, 7, 8 on the average. I mean, then one man is responsible for 27 children,
So
30
you
children.
are calling for a legislation that bans polygamy.
Education and legislation. And like I said,
Are you calling for a law that bans polygamy?
Education and legislation. Like I said, countries like Turkey.
You don't want to answer me in a yes or no.
because
do you advocate? Do you think that
because
would help?
you can't just there are certain things that you can't legislate out of existence. Education comes first.
Okay, Rotimi, let me hold you here.
Legislation, like I said, countries like Turkey.
All right.
Legislated against polygamy as far back as 1926.
All right, let me give you the
like
phone
Tunisia
numbers.
have done it.
All right, let me hold you here and get back to the phones. The lines have been buzzing. People are itching to jump on this. If you don't have our
Call
numbers,
us on 012770993, 012771993. Call us on 012770993, 012771993, 012772993, and 012773993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
That's right. We are listening right here, right now. And I'll be going on to speak with Muyiwa, who's on the line from Shagamu. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're visiting Shagamu tomorrow on the show, by the way, talking about the killing. We'll be speaking with your police PRO tomorrow, so make sure to join.
I think that would be nice.
Right.
That would be nice. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And good morning to our panelists, especially Rotimi and Corey.
Good morning. Welcome.
I wish all of you the best. Now, what I just want to say is that in analyzing a case study, the first thing is you want to identify the problem. Mm-hmm. And even in identifying the problem, you want to say, is there a problem? Because I think that is the main issue we have at hand. Mm-hmm. If you could still have some allies that could still come up and tell you that they support this, because if you have brought that former presidential aspirant here, we will have been able to see his own side. And I think what I'm trying to say from there is that there must be unity of purpose. Everybody there has to come together to first say there is a problem. It is when you now know that there is a problem, you now know how, where, and what to do to solve this problem. Because in a situation whereby they have not seen it that way, I think it might be difficult. And I think that is where what Ganduje is trying to do is coming from. Because when people now don't want to see it that there's a problem, then you have to apply either a force to make sure that thing sails through.
Right.
And then what I will just say, from what I'm saying is, there should still be more campaign and awareness. Okay, look at what happened during Jonathan's time. When they built the school. What is happening to the school now? How many of them really attended that school, having spent so much money?
Thank you very much. Let's speak with Idris. Let's keep it brief and short. We're running out of time. Idris, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Please, I want to contribute.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I think this Almajiri stuff, I did the Almajiri and I know the problem concerned it. But believe me, I think it's our government in the north. I am from Borno State. Mm-hmm. But based on this education, the government didn't put eyes there. They only know to people taking their children there and keep them. They don't care about them. You see a lot of them begging and doing all that. But I did it, but I don't want even my children or anybody.
Are you saying you were an Almajiri?
Before.
What was your experience? Why did your parents send you there?
Okay. Back then, I don't know why they sent me there. And I'm from Lagos. I am born in Lagos and then sent me down to Maiduguri. But based on the experience I had and what I go through, that's what makes me, I didn't even want anybody to experience.
How old were you then?
By then, I was 8 years.
8 years old?
Down there.
And when did you return to your parents?
Okay, I was about 22 years.
Oh, my goodness. So between that time, what were you doing? Did you learn? What did you learn? Did you beg on the street? Why did you have to beg?
I begged on the street. I did a lot of things, but believe me, no help from government at all. And this Almajiri, those imam that they are saying and all that, some of them, they don't even have enough to feed themselves. We beg for them, and when they give us food, we bring some food for them also. We are feeding them.
Oh, wow.
So that shows how difficult it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back in 2007 down to Maiduguri with this Boko Haram issue and all the crises, and I asked one of the imams there that why can't they upgrade this thing to make it like without begging and all those children should have a good place to sleep and all that. They say, okay, their parents are not funding them.
So why do they keep accepting those children when their parents are not funding them and they can't take care of them?
Because they're exploiting them.
For them, I think they believe that this teaching of Quran that they are making is the best, and maybe they are getting...
You're sure that is it? Or like you said, you are feeding them. The children are feeding them. Maybe it's just convenient for them to sit at home and let children go get them food to eat. But Idris, thank you so much for sharing.
Beyond convenience. It's gangsterism. Look, there is a sociological problem. Too many children being given birth to by people who shouldn't be doing so. The political gangsters set up these institutions and claim to be imams. The parents ignorantly send the children to them. The gangsters exploit the children by sending them out to beg.
They make a living off the children.
Yes, they live off the children. They rent the children out to the political elite. They send the children out to beg and make profit from the begging. They send the children out to get food. The children feed them. It's gangsterism. It's sociology. We should explain it properly.
Bamidele is on the line. He's been holding the line for a while from Lekki. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. I'm just I don't know, concerned about Nigeria. I believe these people will finish Nigeria. That's what they will do.
By these people, who do you mean exactly?
The Northern Elites and the politicians. Now, let's take it from Sanusi. He says he talks once in a while about these things. Why can't we get together people of like minds and let them start a movement to change some of these things that are fundamentally wrong?
I was going to say maybe there are no like minds, but I remember that some northern youth also supported him in the call.
There are like minds.
Yeah, so there are like minds.
But they are in the minority for now.
And maybe some of them are not bold enough to come speak as Sanusi does.
The majority of the political elite benefit from not investing in education.
All right,
just trouser the money.
Okay. Also, I mean, quickly I'll tell you, I have a daughter. At 10 years, she was fully developed. Okay, she was in primary school, and in fact, she had to start. She was like a woman. By the time you saw her at that time, but even after that time, she still went on to secondary school, went to medical school, did not get married until like 15 years later. Do you understand what I'm saying?
When she was ready.
At the time she was 10, between 10 and 12 or so. That time when she was fully developed, I was watching her like a hawk. If a man, as much as moved near her, I could eat that man raw. That is protection. Now, these women in the north, they have no authority over their children. So it's the men that actually give these children out to their friends at age 12, age 13. Why can't they start with that?
Right. I hear you loud and clear. Thank you, Bamidele, for sharing. We're running out of time, but let me go to Facebook.
There are countries that practice Islam where the age of marriage for girls is 21.
By law.
By law.
If you do otherwise,
18,
21. Why can't we do the same?
So if girls can't get married in those countries till they are 21, it means that childbearing is delayed. It means
the possibility of the number of children you would have, because you are grown and you can make better decisions.
That's why I was saying that education, public awareness, and some things. There are other steps you can take if you don't want to take the ultimate resolution like they did in Turkey or Tunisia to legislate against polygamy, fine. But there are certain institutional things you need to do to reduce the possibility that girls can be forced into having multiple children against their will.
Right, let me go to Facebook quickly. Raphael Adegoke said the result of the Almajiri children filling the streets and road begging is a result of the laxity, carelessness, and the failure of the northern leaders. The northern leaders are to blame for this. Austin Irabo, if the Almajiri system is to be retained the way it is currently run, it will only lead to more misery, penury, slavery, and backwardness for the victims. Machiavelli Ifedigbo, a governor in the north, Jigawa, not really sure where, opted to build 90 mosques instead of 90 schools for his people. Rafiu Nuhu says, good morning, Wemimo and Rotimi. The topic is very interesting. Thank you for joining. Okay, I have Israel on the line from Ebute Meta. Good morning, Israel.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I just want to make this comment that I want to believe that there is a conspiracy going on in the north. The reason why I say that is this. I served in Yobe State.
Conspiracy by whom?
The entire North leadership. Now, just like what everybody have been saying since, I served in Yobe. I was posted to GBGSS. That's Goneri in Yobe State. Mm-hmm. We have empty classes. No students. And they will bring a boy who is about 18 years, they will just put it in SS1. A boy
without primary education.
Without any primary education. So we have this communication problem with them. We are ready to teach them, but they are not ready to learn.
I understand you. I mean, I served there.
Not because they are not ready.
Some of them are not ready to.
They've not been provided with the early education.
Well, and some of them are not even ready to. There are young people who are willingness to learn.
We shouldn't blame victims. We shouldn't.
Some of them are grown. They're adults and they're not willing to.
Northerners are not ready to learn is wrong.
Nobody said northerners. That's not what Israel said.
Any child provided with education will be ready to learn.
Not every child is even ready to learn, even when provided with education. But Israel, thank you for calling. Let me run quickly to WhatsApp. This is a funny comment. It's coming on you, Rotimi. It's from Peter. I just would laugh. Says, Wemimo, I like your style. Please don't put Rotimi on the spotlight asking him if he wants a ban of polygamy. You don't even know how many wives he has. Says, I was just laughing when you insisted on him answering the question. It seems about one marry, one more wives. That's Peter making a joke.
Because
it's a joke.
Because there are certain things that you can't just legislate out of existence.
Right, let me take some more comments. Rotimi, we're really out of line.
Before you get to that level.
We've talked about those. Let me read some comments. Chika Agina from Marina says the ban of Almajiri and street begging in Kano by Ganduje is just playing to the gallery. Says one Friday sermon on the mosque is enough to ruin the political equation for Ganduje. It says Kaduna State imposed such a ban some time ago, but Almajiri and street begging is still striving in Kaduna till date. Good morning, Wemimo. The Almajiri system has nothing to do with religion. After all, we have Muslims in the south. No name to that. Christian from Aja says, bet me your intended guest will not show up. While the show is over, he's not here. It says, I've been listening to the show. Many people are listening because he promised to come. All right. We have this. Appears to be a poem. Okay, it says it agrees with Prince YX. The target of Kano State isn't on the children but the parents. In Ogun State, under Gbenga Daniel, he banned street hawking. He put that in quotes, children hawking during school hours. Their parents were meant to pay fines. Within the shortest time, street hawking disappeared.
The scale is different.
Charlie says, final message I'll be reading. The guy that said he called a cross-section of the youth between 8 and 15 for training. He did not tell us what he was trying to impact on them. Was it religious education or the conventional education? He says, using the Emir of Kano as reference point, he attended both Western and Islamic education, and he's better for it today. He says, you can be a religious leader, yet you still have Western education. It makes you more informed and refined. We must go now. Rotimi, I can't take any more comments.
It is just education.
Right. I can't take any more comments right now because we're absolutely out of time. Unfortunately, our scheduled guest did not show up for the show. I'll follow up with him to be sure he's fine. That's my first concern, and then see if we can reschedule him. The show is back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. The morning crossfire starts at that time. And tomorrow we're going to Shagamu to speak with the police PRO about the killing of the young footballer of Remo Stars and protesters protesting the killing of that boy. Join the show tomorrow. I'm Wemimo Adewuni. Big thanks to the team. Rotimi, thank you for being in.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.